Rollout at the Kennedy Space Center. Artemis with NASA's most powerful rocket ever, the Space Launch System, or SLS, on a 12-hour, 4-mile crawl to the launch pad, and a high-stakes, frenetic countdown blitz for yet another date with history. For the first time since Apollo 17 in 1972,
I was strolling on the moon one day.
4 astronauts are headed for a lunar rendezvous.
Victor, Christina, Jeremy, we're going to the moon.
And here we go.
November 16th, 2022.
7, 6, 5. 4-stage engine start. 3, 2, 1. Boosters in ignition. And liftoff of Artemis 1. We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
Roaring off Launch Pad 39B at the Kennedy Space Center, NASA's Artemis 1. An uncrewed test flight around the moon and a high-resolution 80-mile-high flyover.
Now you are seeing the Earth, you are seeing home, you are seeing yourself in that image right there.
All to test a brand new rocket and a crew capsule named Orion.
This is the moment of truth for Orion.
After 25 days and 1.4 million miles, a fiery re-entry as Orion came screaming back to Earth at 32 times the speed of sound. Then 300 miles south of San Diego.
Splashdown. The latest chapter of NASA's journey to the moon comes to a close. Orion, back on Earth.
A picture-perfect mission with NASA precision, setting the stage for humans.
There's a lot out there to explore, and this is the next beginning, and this is the Artemis generation.
Fast forward to 2026 and the dawn of a new era. Artemis 2, stacked and ready for launch, America's biggest lunar mission in 53 years. Artemis 2 is a 10-day mission slingshotting around the moon with 4 astronauts on board, testing all of the crew systems before Artemis 3 is set to land on the moon. Artemis 2 is Commander Reed Weissman, originally from Baltimore, a retired Navy captain fighter pilot and a single father of 2 after his wife Carol passed away. He spent 165 days on the space station in 2014 and served as the chief of the astronaut office. Pilot Victor Glover, a U.S. Navy pilot who served on the Crew 1 mission to the space station, where he also served as a flight engineer. Originally from California, he is married with 4 children. Mission specialist Christina Cook set a record for the longest single space flight by a woman with 328 days in space and participated in the first all-female spacewalk, growing up in Michigan and North Carolina. And astronaut Jeremy Hansen is a former fighter pilot and aquanaut. Originally from Ontario, he is married with 3 teenagers and proud to be the first Canadian headed to the moon.
The U.S. shines in space leadership, and they create this place where other countries like Canada can bring our genius and contribute in a meaningful way.
Artemis is the twin Greek god of Apollo with perfect aim. Flanked with 2 boosters, Artemis is 15% more powerful than the monster Saturn V rockets that carried Apollo astronauts to the moon more than 50 years ago.
Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
And NASA is building heavily on the lessons learned from Apollo.
We are ready for every scenario as we ride this amazing space launch system in the Orion spacecraft. 250,000 miles away. It's going to be amazing.
On mission day 1, Artemis will blast off with 8.8 million pounds of thrust. In just 9 minutes, they'll be in Earth orbit.
And so once we get to space, the ascent portion really ends after about a half an orbit, when we're going to go from a 1,200 mile by 0 mile orbit to doing what we call a perigee-raise maneuver that gets us into a stable and sustainable orbit. And then we're going to get a couple of us out of our seats and start to check out really critical systems: the water system, and the toilet.
After a series of Earth orbits, they'll head to the moon. On flight day 6, the Artemis II crew will fly closer to the moon than any astronaut since Apollo 17 landed there in 1972. For the first time, putting human eyes on a remote side of the moon.
We hope it's not the dark side. We hope it's the lit far side, because that could mean that we could see parts of the moon that never have had human eyes lay upon them before.
And then they'll keep going in a big Circle 8, traveling 4,600 miles beyond the moon before returning back to Earth. All 10 days spent inside their Orion crew capsule, about the size of a large minivan. The biggest difference between Orion and the Apollo crew capsule is, first of all, it's bigger, about 33% bigger. 4 astronauts will be inside Orion instead of 3 in Apollo. And Orion uses solar power rather than Apollo's battery power. For 3 years, all 4 have been training together in this very tight space.
How do you prepare and practice for that, Christina? How do you literally sit elbow to elbow, shoulder to shoulder, no personal privacy, no private space, to prepare for this intensity?
I think a big part of preparing for being in a small space together is respect and practice. We came up with some rules. Hey, headphones, that means pretend I am not here. I have my headphones on, I'm taking a break. But also just we learned how to give each other grace and what that feels like, literally bumping into each other all the time.
Artemis is about reclaiming America's leadership in space.
Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
And setting the stage for a 21st century lunar landing.
Now today, the moon is calling us again.
Harrison Schmitt walked on the moon in that final Apollo 17 mission in 1972.
Cold War II has started, in my opinion.
But the 2026 space race is not with Russia, it's with China. Already, China has built a robotic base on the moon with plans to land its own astronauts there by 2030. Former commercial astronaut Jared Isaacman is NASA's new administrator.
Within the next 3 years, we are going to land American astronauts again on the moon, but this time with the infrastructure to stay.
And American politicians are determined not to let China get there first.
I'll be damned if the Chinese beat NASA or beat America back to the moon. We are going to win.
We have liftoff. Go Super Heavy. Go Starship.
To get there, NASA is depending on the Elon Musk SpaceX mega rocket called Starship. Standing nearly 400 feet tall, Starship is the biggest rocket ever built. Despite a perfect test flight in October 2025, Starship has suffered a series of high-profile setbacks after several test flights ended in explosions, with debris raining down over the Caribbean.
What in the world?
The SpaceX plan used Starship to lift resupply fuel tanks into Earth orbit, then fuel up before heading to the moon and rendezvousing with Orion, which will carry 4 astronauts from Earth. Once in lunar orbit, 2 astronauts will board Starship for a lunar landing, where they will live and work for more than 6 days. That's the plan, but a Starship lunar lander doesn't yet exist. And the clock is ticking down to the goal of a lunar landing in 2028. Concerned, NASA encouraged SpaceX rival Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin to also develop a lunar lander. Posting on X in 2025, Musk said setbacks are part of testing and learning to eventually take humans beyond the moon to Mars. And NASA has also had to learn. The Artemis 1 launch was delayed for several months due to a hydrogen fuel leak and 2 hurricanes. But launch director Charlie Blackwell Thompson says her team now has a much better understanding of the rocket.
Is there just some natural leaking that you've now come to realize that's what the vehicle does?
There is some amount, and there is some amount of allowable. And so you want to manage within your allowable. And that's where we got to with Artemis, with that 3rd launch countdown, is we learned how to manage within our allowable leak rate.
Engineers also discovered problems with the Orion crew capsule's heat shield. As Orion returned to Earth, the protective shield hit 5,000 degrees, half the temperature of the sun. To bleed off speed, NASA skipped the spaceship off the atmosphere before dipping back in. Engineers later discovered a charred layer of the heat shield where pieces had come off. NASA had to determine why, then come up with a fix for the Artemis II mission. Howard Hu is the Orion program manager.
Do you feel like you've solved the heat shield issue?
Definitely, we have. You know, like I said, we have found root cause, which is really important. We know what the heat shield's capable of and what we need to do to make the minor adjustments for the future vehicles.
The heat shield is all that stands between the astronauts and the extreme heat of the plasma on re-entry. The danger all too real for NASA. In 2003, the Space Shuttle Columbia broke apart on re-entry after a piece of the heat shield was damaged and came off during liftoff, killing all 7 astronauts.
There are going to be real astronauts on board Orion 2. Does that raise the stakes for you guys?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're flying people here, and we've got to do the absolute best job we can.
Their lives depend on you.
They absolutely do. Us doing our job correctly.
Now, a new chapter in America's love affair with all things space.
Three, 2, 1. Boosters in ignition. And liftoff of Artemis 1.
The Artemis mission is wrapped around a massive rocket weighing 6 million pounds at liftoff.
5 engines on the core stage and 2 solid rocket boosters now propelling the vehicle at 128 miles per hour.
700,000 gallons of liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen, pushing the entire stack to break the Earth's gravitational pull.
Now 1 minute, 21 seconds into the flight, traveling at 1,420 miles per hour.
75% of its power comes from 2 solid rocket boosters, borrowed from the Space Shuttle program.
Confirmation that the solid rocket boosters have separated.
2 minutes into flight, those booster rockets are released. As the core stage and its engines continue to propel Orion and the crew to space. After 3 minutes, the protective fairing around the service module's solar panels drops free. 8 minutes into flight, the core engine shuts down. Orion separates from the core and flies free. Then deploys the 4 solar panels that power Orion to the moon and back. After 90 minutes, the engine ignites to lift Orion into a high Earth orbit. Then, for the next 24 hours, the astronauts and mission control perform a full systems check, manually test flying the ship for future flights that will involve rendezvous and docking maneuvers. 23 hours later, in full auto mode, Orion will start the TLI burn, translunar injection, beginning a 4-day journey to the moon and a figure-8 path extending more than 230,000 miles from Earth.
So this is the Orion crew stack. Up on top, you see that is the crew module, the top with the silver band around it. That's where the 4 astronauts will sit. Down below that, you have the European service module. That's in the middle, and you've got 4 solar arrays. Right now, you can see 2 of them. But that is the power pack that will essentially power Orion 2's journey around the moon.
It'll be about a day orbiting the Earth, 4 days to the moon, 4 days back, and then we'll really have a certified human-rated lunar-capable spacecraft in the Orion.
We are 41,541 miles from the moon.
For 3 years, the Artemis II crew has been training hard.
Radio check on ACU-2.
Mastering cockpit flight controls, fitting and refitting spacesuits, intense classes for memorizing systems, procedures, and backups, and endless hours on their backs in the Orion simulator.
If I look tired, it's because I am tired. This has been an incredible week of training, a very intense week for sure.
This is where the commander will sit and the pilot will sit right here. Now, Orion is designed to fly itself, fully automated, but either the pilot or the commander can take control. They both have the same controls on either side. And Orion is a lot lighter. They've gotten rid of a lot of the Apollo cables and replaced it with computers. Still, it's a 10-day mission with little room to stretch out, especially for 6'2" Jeremy Hansen.
Yeah, Canada did get more than its fair share of the volume on this mission by assigning me to this.
And these three are going to have to mentor me a little bit as I get my space legs, because they've all had 6-ish months on space station, and I'll be learning how to float and fly and bumping into stuff, and I'll need a little help probably.
Like all NASA crews before them, the Artemis crew voted on a name for their Orion spaceship. Their choice, Integrity. Commander Reed Weissman.
Why did you pick that name?
We talk a lot about this concept of being, integrity is not like a pure, simple thing like you would think, but you can be in integrity and you can be out of integrity. And so for us, as the first crew of Artemis, we strive every day to be in integrity. And there are moments where we slip up and we go, hey, I'm out of integrity right now and I'm working on it. And that's all we have to say to each other.
And the name Integrity comes at a time of great political polarization in the country. This mission, they hope, will serve to unite Americans, much as Apollo 8 did after a very turbulent 1968.
And from the crew of Apollo 8, we close with good night, good luck, a Merry Christmas, and God bless all of you on the good earth.
There's a lot of little things that will divide us. It'll fill in the cracks and expand if we let it. And it would be nice if this could just be some caulking, some reinforcement to fill in those spaces to prevent division. I hope this mission can bring people together. We were very intentional about the design of this patch for Artemis 2 to look like all. And we want everybody to be a part of this mission. And so I hope we can contribute in that way.
Just maybe this lunar mission for the 21st century will capture the country's imagination. Since 1973, astronauts have been staying in low Earth orbit. Now they will fly just 4,300 miles above the lunar surface, the closest since the Apollo 17 astronauts who left the moon in 1972.
3, 2, 1, ignition. Right away, Houston.
Rick Hendling is the Artemis II re-entry flight director.
You're going to send astronauts further from the Earth than ever before.
Correct. It's going to be a tremendous mission to be a part of. We're going to send back some imagery that we know will just wow the public.
The hope? That after Artemis II, an Artemis III crew will be the first to land on the moon since those glory days of Apollo, landing near Shackleton's crater on the moon's cold and shadowed south pole, where water ice is thought to exist, a critical resource for future base and rocket fuel. Already, astronauts are training in NASA's 6 million-gallon neutral buoyancy lab in Houston, replicating moonwalks and collecting lunar samples. And far from Houston, training in the barren and desolate volcanic fields of Iceland, where the geology is eerily similar to the moon's.
We hope to learn about the evolution of the moon, but actually a lot of the objectives that those astronauts are going to be doing will tell us about the evolution of our own planet and the entire solar system.
I do think this is the greatest adventure in human history. I think what we stand to learn out there can absolutely change the trajectory of humankind.
The ultimate goal, to build a permanent base on the moon, complete with a nuclear reactor to generate power, and then on to Mars. Apollo 17 astronaut Harrison Schmitt, himself a geologist, has been pushing for more than 50 years.
Human evolution in the universe has begun. I tried to make this point as we left the moon in 1972.
Air Force Lieutenant Colonel and NASA astronaut Nicole Ayers is all in. She spent 146 days on the space station.
I was that little kid who had an affinity for the sky and for space, and sealed the deal in 4th grade when I went to space camp and got to see everything, and grew up in the shuttle era, so I didn't necessarily just want to be on the shuttle, I wanted to fly the shuttle.
Yes, going to Mars is absolutely on the horizon for us.
In our lifetimes?
We can absolutely get there. I believe so, and I want it to be in my lifetime because that is a goal for myself to be able to see that.
But first, the moon is calling. Step inside to one of the most iconic symbols of America's space program. NASA's original mission control restored as a museum, down to the ashtray, RC cola can, and slide rule. to that day in 1969.
Capcom, we're go for landing.
Eagle Houston, you're go for landing, over.
When Apollo 11 landed on the moon. 9 months later, the drama of Apollo 13 played out here.
Okay, Houston, we've had a problem here. Houston, we've had a problem.
What's it like to come back and see this and stand here now?
It brings back a few memories.
In 2022, we asked Apollo lead flight director Milt Windler, then 90 years old, to come back.
What does this data here tell you? What is this about?
It's about what the spacecraft is doing, what the systems are doing.
And sit down with Rick LeBreau.
It's hallowed ground where you walk in here and you still have memorabilia on the wall that reminds you of the accomplishments that these guys did in the Apollo days.
The lead flight director on the uncrewed Artemis 1 mission to the moon.
When these guys did it, nobody had done it before. We were riding on their shoulders because they figured it out for us, and that's huge.
The physics hadn't changed. F is still equal to ma. It is, isn't it?
It is.
Good. Anyway, so a lot of things are different. The tools are different.
Newton's laws of motion are the same, but technology has come a long way since 1969. There is more computing power in my cell phone than you had during the Apollo days. How did you do that?
Well, because that's all we had. Did it with what we had.
Do you look
we didn't know what we didn't have.
My generation looks back at what they accomplished and wonders how they did it.
Opened in 1965, they ran every Apollo mission out of here, every moon landing. And then they ran Skylab and shuttle missions, including the loss of Challenger. Today, an updated mission control runs the space station. Another next door will run the Artemis 2 mission. 15 to 18 controllers on duty 24/7 until the astronauts are safely back on Earth. Veteran controller Judd Freeling is the Artemis 2 Ascent flight director.
You know, I grew up in the shuttle generation, right? And shuttle low Earth was kind of the talk all in the space community. Never did I think that we'd be going back to the moon, and I would be part of that.
And already, NASA is preparing for the next big mission.
Are you ready to meet the 24th group of astronaut candidates?
Wearing their astronaut blues for the first time, a standing ovation from NASA employees, family, and friends for the newest class to make the cut.
You are America's best and brightest. And we're going to need America's best and brightest because we have bold exploration plans for the future.
4 men and 6 women selected from 8,000 applicants. They include fighter and test pilots, engineers, and a medical doctor. When engineer Yuri Kubo told his wife and 2 small children he was going to be an astronaut, a surprise reaction.
My kids were mostly concerned about me meeting an alien, so that was like, okay.
That could still happen.
It could still happen, but they'll probably come in peace. I'm confident. I feel good about it.
Also new on the job, NASA Chief Jared Isaacman.
Jared now opening Dragon Resilience into space.
He's the self-made billionaire who in 2024 became the first private astronaut to step out of an orbiting SpaceX ship.
From here, Earth sure looks like a perfect world.
Isaacman is also an accomplished pilot with 7,000 hours in the cockpit.
I have lived the American dream, and I owe this nation a great debt.
Isaacman made his fortune by founding credit card processing company Shift4 Payments, but his passion has always been space. He's led 2 private space missions in SpaceX capsules. In 2023, I caught up with him while training in Colorado.
Why do this? Why do we need to go into space?
I mean, there are questions that we've been asking ourselves since like the dawn of civilization, right? That we don't know the answers to, and the universe is so big.
SpaceX CEO Elon Musk wants to prioritize a Mars mission rather than the moon. Both Republicans and Democrats have pressed Isaacman to reaffirm the moon mission comes first.
We don't have to make a binary decision of moon versus Mars, or moon has to come first versus Mars. I think we could be paralleling these efforts.
Both America and China are targeting the lunar South Pole for a landing. But who will land first, America or China?
We're just going to pursue excellence like I talked about before. That's how you win a space race, and that's just how you move our countries forward.
But China has also suffered setbacks. Its own astronauts, taikonauts, were stranded on China's space station after their return ship was hit by space debris. And no one really knows how close China is to actually putting taikonauts on the moon. Whoever gets there first could use the moon for a springboard to Mars.
And the first boot that ever sets foot on the surface of the red planet will be an American astronaut and could well be one of these boots right here.
The 21st century space race could soon hit warp speed. Anna Menon was a commercial astronaut orbiting the Earth in 2024 with Jared Isaacman in that SpaceX Dragon capsule. In 2025, she was selected as a NASA astronaut.
I am just pinching myself that this is even possible. You know, what a chapter of human spaceflight that we are in, that this is even possible today.
As NASA's first female launch director, Charlie Blackwell Thompson was in charge during Artemis 1.
Is it past due that America returns to the moon?
I'm of a generation where when the TV card came into the classroom, something big was happening. And I remember that last moon landing, I was in elementary school, the TV cart came in and we're watching our astronauts on the surface of the moon. And, you know, being a first grader or second grader, going out and looking up at the moon and just being struck with wonder. And so when I think about that, and this is a connection that I've kept my entire life, right? I still look up at the moon with that same sense of curiosity and wonder. And so, you know, when I think about young kids that maybe will get that same sensation or will get that same sensation, I think, wow.
It's her call when to light the rockets that sent astronauts back to a rendezvous with the moon. 53 years after Apollo, the Artemis generation is assuming the legacy from her twin and aiming for the heavens.
We've always looked at the moon and said, we've been there. But for this whole generation, for our generation, for the younger generation, for the Artemis generation, they're gonna look at the moon now and go, we are there. It is a fundamental shift. It just gave me chills. Like that, it just changes the way these kids are gonna look at the moon. They're not gonna look at it as a part of a history book. They're gonna look at it as a part of their legacy. That is powerful.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.